here is one thing I know to be true about sales. He who cares the most wins. She who cares the most wins. Whoever cares the most wins the sale. Because we genuinely want to help, and because we genuinely want to serve, not take, and because we care more about the prospect, we care more about the person sitting across from us than perhaps even they do about themselves. And if you can do that, that's when people buy. When you can articulate their own problems back to them better than they can, and you can show them that you care about their success even more than they do, that is when they will follow your lead. That's when they will ask you, how do we move forward? What would you like me to do next? And this, for me, is the heart, the art, the science of selling. And we need both art and hard science. We need facts. We do need data. We do need statistics. We need to ground our story in evidence. But heart and emotion are incredibly important. They are vital. And this much I know, stories still beat spreadsheets. Still, stories beat spreadsheets. They always will. And we need to connect with people before we try to persuade them. We need to connect with them on a deeper emotional level before we try to move them to action. So that by the time you've walked them through a demo, by the time you've walked them through the financial model, the portfolio review, they know not only do they like you, they can count on you. They can rely on you to deliver. So whilst AI is helpful, certainly it can help you craft the pitch, it can help you as a sounding board for crafting the message and the narrative, it is eventually, at the end of the day, the messenger. It's you, the messenger that will get the deal over the line. And you know the cliche, AI won't replace humans. It will only replace the humans who don't know how to use AI. It's only going to replace those who don't know how to use it, can't leverage it effectively, adapt or die. No reason to be afraid for me. See this as an opportunity. See this moment in time as an opportunity to upgrade your operating system. And you can upgrade your OS at any time, by the way. That's all self-development and personal development really is. Self-development and personal development is upgrading your mental operating model, upgrading the way you see the world, challenging yourself to move in new ways. Choose to upgrade yourself. As Alan Watts said, you are under no obligation. You're under no obligation to be the same person you were 5 minutes ago. At any point, you can choose to change the way you move through the world. So use AI to amplify your human touch. Use it to amplify your quality and complement you, not erase you. Right? Not erase you. These tools should be there to equip you because you're the warrior. You're the one going into the arena, and use AI as a weapon. You've been given a new weapon, a new tool to enter the arena with that makes you more dangerous. Now it's time to embrace those. Embrace the tools, embrace the training. I wouldn't see AI or any new technology as something that will erase you from the playing field altogether. It's not there to erase you. It exists to make you sharper. It's going to force you to level up. The AI is faster than you, so you need to be sharper now. It's going to give you a huge amount of information. You need to be better at distillation. You need to know what is important and use discernment and judgment to understand what the other person needs, okay? You need to be clearer. You need to be clearer in the way you present and the way you communicate. So I think, selfishly, investing in your communication skills is always a good investment. It's always going to have a positive ROI. So you know this intuitively. You know that what got you here, this stage of your career, will not get you there. What got you to 10K a month won't get you to 50, won't get you to 100. It will require something extra of you. It will require something new of you. You know that's true. And now it's really up to you, to me, to all of us to decide, to jump, to commit to new ways of working, to new ways of selling, to new ways of being. If you're standing still, you're actually moving backwards. And by extension, if you're not cultivating quality, you are automatically cultivating sloppiness by default. You get what you tolerate. You get what you tolerate, so I would encourage you to raise your standards the way I challenge myself to raise my standards every single day, every single week. And much like that pair of comfortable shoes that you've worn for so long, they're familiar, dependable, safe, you have to abandon the shoes that brought you there. You have to abandon the shoes that brought you right at the water's edge, because these new territories, these new worlds demand new shoes, new ways of walking. They demand new tools, new ways of being. So the old language we have, the old habits we have, are often insufficient for the territory that we wish to enter. So the invitation for me, the invitation for all of us now, I think, is to swim across to new shores, to go somewhere worth going. So 5 words that I think are incredibly important. If you choose to care. Everything will be better if you choose to care. Because you can cling on to old ways. You can cling on to old habits that feel familiar. Or you can care enough to decide, to do the work, to unlearn, to relearn and upskill. and become a new and improved version of yourself. But you need to care first, and I can't do that for you. I think you can download skills, but you can't download drive to someone. I can't give you the fuel. I can't make you care. But what I can hopefully do is try show you the way to spark a little flame within you, and then it's you. You must light yourself on fire. You must be the one that wants it and wants to drive forward. There's this one quote that lives rent-free in my head all year round, and it's this one that you're seeing on screen. Anytime I feel like trying something new, which is pretty often, it's every single week, if not every single day, at the beginning, I always start with enthusiasm, don't you? You're enthusiastic, you're optimistic, this will definitely work. And then after a little while, realism kicks in, and you naturally ask yourself, what if I fail? What if I fall flat on my face? What if this doesn't work? But the far more interesting question that I think is better to ask yourself is, but Michael, what if you win? What if you actually win? What if it all goes to plan? What if you get everything you want? And as human beings, it's been scientifically proven we are shockingly bad at estimating risk. We're so bad at it. We consistently overestimate risks. It's a survival mechanism. It makes sense. We're far more concerned with self-preservation than self-actualization. It's not that important historically. But we underestimate the scale of the potential upside. We're so bad consistently at calculating the power of compound returns, exponential returns, if something goes well. And it's our nature to focus more on what could go wrong. But remember my earlier point about the mind simply being an operating system. You can choose to rewrite the code. You can choose to upgrade your mental OS at any moment. So resistance to change and fear of change is all too common, right? Fear means something different to everyone. There are various definitions. If we kind of break it down letter by letter, there's the cheesy bumper sticker version of fear, which says, face everything and rise. F-E-A-R, face everything and rise. It's horrendous, cheesy as hell. No one's going for that. Slightly better version is false evidence appearing real. So much of what we're afraid of only ever happens in our imagination. It's a figment, it's a mirage. We imagine all of the things that could go wrong, and 99% of them never even materialize, do they? We imagine these conversations in our head, we imagine these arguments. And fear also solidifies at a distance. Let me explain. When things are far away, physically or psychologically, they tend to appear very solid. They're real, immovable. But once you get up close, we see things for what they really are. And once we take that first step, that first tiny action, and we chip away at it, we begin to see the next step, and the next step, and the next succession of tiny steps required to get us closer to victory. And this is true with people too. That big, scary, intimidating client or famous celebrity or the customer who sends us angry emails at midnight and you feel like you hate them. Actually, once you meet them up close and you have a drink together and you bond, you realize, oh, they're actually really nice. They're just a regular human being like me. They're not scary at all. And if they were angry, by the way, it's very often not about you anyway. You were just the collateral damage in their war against themselves or in a war with someone else, and you happen to be on the receiving end of it. So I much prefer that description of fear as false evidence appearing real, and that action will reduce your anxiety. It requires confidence, doesn't it? To face our fears, to embrace change. Easy to say, be confident, but it's hard to acquire. But when you break down the word confidence and you think of it in a statistical sense, what is confidence? It's really a measure of predictive power. We talk about confidence intervals. How sure are we that the outcome we desire will happen in the future? But where does confidence come from? How can we access it? How can we build it? How can we resource it? Confidence can be borrowed. Confidence can be borrowed. It can be loaned. As a coach, as a motivator, as a manager, you can give someone a bridge loan of confidence to go out there with the right words at the right time and a slap on the back. But loaned confidence or borrowed confidence will only take you so far. Eventually, it must be resourced from within. It has to be earned. So for me, confidence comes primarily from evidence. Confidence comes from evidence. And the way you develop true, unshakable confidence in your abilities is to prove to yourself that you can do hard things over and over and over again. You build an irrefutable bank of evidence that you can deliver on the things that you say you can. And by the way, you'll always know, by the way, when you look in the mirror, true self-esteem comes from being able to look in the mirror, you look at the man or woman in the mirror and you say, yeah, I am who I say I am, and I know I can deliver on my promises. Confidence can also be stripped away. It can be stripped away by focusing on those things that are outside of our control. I would much prefer to focus on the things that I can control. Control the controllables, you know the saying. Control the controllables. Very easy to say, but hard to do. But if you can only focus your attention, direct your energy on the things that you can control, then you will have a much more resilient mindset, especially as a salesperson, but not just in sales. So asking yourself, what can I control in this sales environment? I can control my attitude. I can control my levels of enthusiasm. I can control how much practice and rehearsal I do. I can control how much due diligence, how much research, how much preparation I do ahead of client meetings. I can control how many hours I spend training. I can control the energy and positivity I bring to every exchange. All of these things are within my locus of control. And the strongest people I know, the strongest people I come across, I coach, I interview, they always have an extremely strong internal locus of control. They do not give power to external parties. They don't give it away to outside circumstances. So a good question to ask yourself on a continual basis, the living question would be, how much power am I giving away? How much energy am I spending on things outside of my control? A very easy way to know if you're moving in the right direction in life is to ask yourself a very simple question, but it can be a painful, confronting question, and it's this. Am I moving towards love, or am I running away from fear? Not everyone has the luxury of being able to run towards the thing they're passionate about, the thing that they love. It is a right that has to be earned, and it requires a lot of courage. But the best advice I can possibly give you is advice that I've taken myself. I've solved this kind of painful problem using this technique or mindset. So I'm not asking you to take medicine that I've never taken myself. And the singular most important thing I've done probably in my life is to reframe my relationship with fear. So for context, for those of you who don't know me, as a teenager, I was extremely shy, very reserved, very introverted. Would not even put my hand up in class, let alone speak on stage in front of thousands of people. And I was like that for my entire childhood. Michael's shy, he's shy. It was a label that people gave me, and it was one that I gave myself, and it stuck for a very long time. But one day, I took the decision, because I was in pain at how my life was turning out and panning out, I decided I would no longer be afraid. I just flat out refused to be afraid anymore. I'm tired, not getting the things I wanted, of not getting the relationships or the opportunities that I felt I'd worked hard for and deserved. So I set myself a simple challenge. I set myself a KPI of having one conversation with a stranger every single day. And slowly but surely, 365 repetitions a year at minimum, I began to feel more courageous. I began to feel more confident. I began to feel more at ease in social situations. And as well as reading every self-help book and communication psychology book in the library, eventually, gradually, all at once, I find that everyone says I'm a natural. And they stick me on stage and they put me on camera. And my job now is literally to get paid to speak and coach CEOs on the art of public speaking. But none of this would have happened had I not taken that singular decision as a shy young boy to move towards fear, not run away from it. Because now I understand, if I'm afraid of something, I should run headlong towards it, because that's where the growth is. So fear, for me, for you, should act as a compass. I use fear as a compass. Fear is a compass telling me this is the direction you need to go. It points you in the right direction. And as the author, Joseph Campbell, so wisely said, the treasure you seek is in the cave you are afraid to enter. I would urge you not to fear change. Do not fear change. What you should fear is the comfort zone. Fear the comfort zone, fear mediocrity. That is what should terrify you. The thought of being average should terrify you. And listen, you cannot be average and expect above average returns. It just doesn't compute, right? You can't be average and expect above average returns. You cannot have average levels of energy, average levels of enthusiasm, average levels of work rate, average levels of product knowledge, average organizational skills, etc., and expect above average returns. If you want to be exceptional, by definition, you need to be the exception to the rule. In order to be exceptional, it demands that you are the exception to the rule by very definition. And with communication skills or sales, there is no such thing as a natural communicator. There is no such thing as a natural salesperson. No such thing as a born superstar. Not even Tiger Woods, Lionel Messi. None of them are born special. Anytime you try and work on a new skill, whether it's sales or communication, at first it will look clunky. It will feel awkward. It will feel unnatural. And you'll be tempted to revert to your old ways. But here's the thing. You can't get good and look good at the same time. You're going to have to spend some time in the gym, repeating the putting drills, repeating the shooting drills, the speaking drills, rehearsing your sales pitch over and over again until it starts to feel natural. And people will say you're a natural, but you will know the difference. You will know the truth. That you've done the work when no one was watching. And it is your ability to do the work without applause that will separate you from the pack. Now, upgrading oneself requires determination. It requires passion. Passion is necessary, but insufficient on its own. There is no formula for success, but there are 2 formulas for failure. Not trying, not persisting. And persistence is the real separator. Persistence is the separator. It is the great filter. It is the differentiator. Sticking with it, outlasting the others, doing whatever it takes for as long as it takes. So take great pride, if you can, in the relentless execution of the basics, because success is not that sexy. The rewards are, but the path is not. So who recognizes this image? This is, of course, The Valley of Disappointment. It's from the book Atomic Habits. Many of you will have read it, okay? And the thing about success is it happens slowly, then all at once. And it's so easy to give up when you're in that valley, of disappointment. That is exactly when most people give up, trying to do the new thing, trying to do the hard thing, trying to learn a new skill. Because you will feel like you have sown so much and reaped so little, but it needs time to compound. Your efforts need time to compound before you can get that escape velocity. And it's so tempting to drop off when it's hard. And this is where most people will give up. This is where they'll give up, and that is why they will not win. And why I said persistence and perseverance is really the great filter and great separator. Once you've decided to make a change and you've committed, you really need to go all in. At some point, we all have to decide what we really want, and we have to decide to really go after it. To decide truly means to cut off all other options. You cut off all other avenues. One of my favorite podcast guests ever, a guy called Manuel Palacio, he said, the first question you must ask yourself is, do you believe? And if you do, the second question is, are you doing everything that it takes? Because if you're in, with all of the consequences. And most people, what they do is they have a plan B. They do not burn the boats. They always keep a return option. And quite often that return option is not in your favor. So when you believe, if you truly believe, and you can look in the mirror and say that you do, this is the right way, this is the right path, you need to commit and go all in. And that will require some level of motivation, won't it? And where does motivation come from? I don't think most people are lazy or unmotivated. What they lack is reasons. Most people lack good enough reasons to change. And sometimes you just need better, clearer reasons, all right? Now, reasons to change, motivation, sources of motivation, we can resource motivation from different places. Good reasons can come from dark force motivation or light force motivation. Dark force, light force. Dark force, for example, would be greed, ego, jealousy, resentment. Light force reasons and sources would be love, purpose, service, selflessness. And early in my career, I was motivated by dark force. I was motivated by all the wrong things. I know that. I entered the world of investment banking in my 20s purely for the money. Not because I loved it, not because I was passionate about the industry and markets. I chased material things. I wanted the Italian suits, the fast cars. I was driving a nice BMW in my 20s, managing $500 million of client money. Not my money, let's be clear. Client money. And you know what? It works for a while. For a while, it will work. But using dark force energy forever as motivation will always burn out. It will always burn out. It will fizzle out because it's like a fossil fuel. But I have to be real and admit that some people just are. Some people just are purely motivated by money. They are. No point denying it. And as I said, it will work for a while, sometimes for decades for many people. And if I'm honest, more people have darkness in their life more than they do light, right? They have more pain in their life than they do love. And that's okay, as long as you learn how to harness the pain. Can I transmute this pain into something productive? Because chips on shoulders put chips in pockets. That's a Josh Wolf quote. Using rejection, using pain, using the fact that someone told you you'll never amount to anything is okay, as long as you can make it work for you and not against you and prevent it from consuming you. You should use what you have until you don't have to. Just like I did. Because these days, I'm happy to report, I no longer need to prove myself. I don't feel like I need to chase material possessions or money for money's sake. I have much stronger reasons to do my best work. And it's really about providing for these guys. It's about providing for my family. I love these two kids more than life itself. I would do absolutely anything for them. I'm sure that any parents here watching will be feeling the same way. And the beautiful thing about light force motivation and moving towards love, acting out of love, is that it will never run out. It's never going to run out as a source of fuel. It is infinitely renewable. And just like tapping into the sun, harnessing the sun's energy, it will keep you going forever. And it's far more healthy. So a good practice, a good exercise for you to do is take the time to write down. What are your reasons to persevere? Why will you keep going when times get tough? Who or what are you fighting for? Good questions to live with, good questions to ask yourself. So here's the truth about exceptionalism and success. I love this image of the 4 gas hobs. We're getting near the end now, and I want to leave you with this image. See it in your brain, okay? So these 4 gas hobs, it is my contention, it's my belief that you only have enough fuel, you have enough gas to burn 2 of these hobs on full blast at any one time, okay? You can burn 2 full blast at any one time. And these 4 hobs represent something different, right? So each hob represents one thing in your life. So one hob is career, work, one is family, one is friendships, and one is your health. And you only have enough fuel, enough gas to burn 2 of these at full blast at any one time. And the key to having a balanced life, but also being exceptional in some regard, is to know that greatness is born from periods of imbalance, not balance. Greatness is born from periods or seasons of imbalance. And you must go all in on something if you want to be the best at it. You cannot negotiate or haggle over the price. What you can do is be self-aware enough and present enough in the moment to realize what stage, what season of life am I in right now? What season of life are you in right now? Is this a season for family and health and I need to turn it up there? Or is this a season to sprint at work and focus on friendships? Whatever it is it a combination of something else? For me right now, I know, for better or worse, I'm fully burning the fuel on my career because I have to. And then everything I have left is for family. I'm focusing on those 2. And as much as it pains me to say I don't have enough time for my friends, they keep inviting me to stuff I keep having to say no. I don't have enough time to play football or golf or go to the gym right now. But I know that this is just a season and it's intentional. And like nature, we all have our seasons. The key is not let your summer or your winter go on forever. And you must turn down the dials on some things before you turn the dials up on others. So in the macro, when you zoom out, you can have a balanced life. You can have enough time for your friends, your health, your family, whilst still doing great things at work. But in the micro, it's not going to be smooth every single day, right? You cannot have a balanced day after day after day. It will be lumpy. It's supposed to be lumpy. But just ask yourself, what season am I in right now? Where do I need to turn it up? Where do I need to turn it down? So I think as a closing message, or something I'd like to leave you with, is this concept of accountability. I want you to hold yourself accountable to the best version of yourself. Hold yourself accountable to your best intentions, okay? Which you've taken the time to write down your reasons, write down your motivations. Why will I persevere? How will I step up? How will I make myself? How will I embrace this new technology? How am I going to upgrade my skill set? How am I going to upgrade my mindsets, my habits, my behaviors, right? And accountability, the single best definition of accountability I've ever heard was from someone much smarter than me. And he said, accountability is holding your feet to the fire of your own best intentions. Now, there are some days when you have high motivation, some days when it's low. Accountability is really just reminding yourself and remembering, hey, you need to hold your feet to the fire here. Remember on that day when you were super fired up and you had the best intentions and you were designing your dream life and what you wanted out of it. Remember him, remember her, and act as if you still want to be that person, even when your energy levels are dipping, even when your motivation levels are dipping. That's what accountability is. And more than anything else, please remember this. People get rewarded in public for what they practice in private. So the question now becomes, do you care enough? Do you care enough to change? Are you brave enough to change? Are you ready to take off those shoes that have brought you here to the water's edge and step into new ones that will allow you to explore new territories and fulfill your true potential? More than anything, I hope you've learned something today, or at least I've reminded you of something that's going to make you better. Thank you for the gift of your attention, and I wish nothing but the absolute best for you. Thank you.